Hi, welcome to The Peaceful Home. I'm Teresa Elling, and this is part 10 to the series How to Decorate a Room from Start to Finish. I've used my guest room as the model to go through these steps, and we're finally at the end. Today we're going to talk about decorating surfaces like this desk. And next week will be the final reveal of the room. If you're new here, I'm Teresa Elling, and I am a professional organizer, parenting coach, wife, and homeschool mom to 6 graduated kids. Today I'm going to show you 5 things to consider when you're decorating a surface top, such as a bookcase or the top of a dresser, as well as 5 options for varying texture, and I'll show you how I made some decisions in decorating the surfaces of this guest room. Number 1 is to vary the height of your items. You don't want everything to be the same height. By varying the height of your items, it allows your eye to move around and it creates visual interest. Number 2, vary your texture. The only exception to this is if you're displaying a collection. So if you're showing off your collection of glass bottles, it's not going to matter that they're all glass. That's the point of a collection. But otherwise, you want to vary those textures. These are the 5 things that I always keep in mind when I'm decorating a space. Books. I love books, especially old books, hardcover, and books related to my own passions and interests. Number 2, plants. Real or fake, plants are needed in almost every space to bring in some light. Number 3, ceramic or glass. Number 4, natural fibers. This can be in the form of a basket or some flowers, dried flowers, wood, twine, raffia. There's all kinds of things you can do, but natural fibers really bring in a great variety. And number 5, metal. 1 to 2 max. I don't suggest that you bring in brass and silver and gold, but sticking to 1 or 2 options is perfect. Number 3 is use the rule of 3. Now, this can be applied kind of 2 different ways. First off, when you are decorating a shelf or a surface top, odd numbers tend to be the most pleasing to the eye for some reason. I usually stick with 3, but you could do 5 or 7, especially if you're displaying a collection. The rule of 3 also applies with color, making sure that any color you introduce into a space is repeated at least 3 times. This kind of tricks your brain into thinking that this color placement was very intentional and it doesn't feel random or odd. For example, I could think purple is the most amazing color in the world, but if I don't have it anywhere in my space and I have 1 purple throw pillow, it's just going to look like it was placed there by accident. This leads us into number 4, which is spread out your color. If you've got your color in at least 3 places, possibly more, make sure it's spread out in such a way that your eye follows and is drawn throughout the space. If I only had blue right here, maybe on the seat, on the desk, and on a piece of art, and nowhere else in the room, your eye would be pulled towards that, but it wouldn't want to follow around and kind of explore the rest of the space. I love looking at the entire room like a painting, and I want my eye to be drawn by various shapes and lines and colors. So spread your color out. Make sure that there's a dab here and there, and let your eye follow that around the room. Speaking of spreading things out, you do need to be aware that when you're placing items on a surface, that you don't cluster them too close together, because then it feels like they can't breathe and it feels awkward. And the flip side of that is spreading them out too far, where they don't even look like they belong together. The third option is just right, not touching and also not so far away that they seem disconnected. 1 inch to 2 to 3 between each of your items in your odd configuration should be fine. And number 5, consider a general mountaintop configuration whenever you're placing things on a surface. What that means is that when you're looking at some things on a surface, let's take this writing desk for example. I have the lamp as the tallest thing here. And if I were to basically do straight lines to outline these main things, it would form a mountain peak over the lamp. So again, even with the paintings, if I were to follow a line, I've got a nice mountaintop peak. This certainly does not need to be an even peak like an isosceles triangle. It can be angled one way or the other. You can even have several different mountain peaks along the same surface. I found this book years ago. It's 22 years old, and I couldn't even find a used copy online. It's called Decorating for Good by Carol Talbot, and it's just got some really great foundational things on room layouts and building design, from architecture to furniture to display items. She has some really great illustrations in the book that can help you see how your eye follows something with that mountain peak idea. So this rule, along with all of the others, are not hard and fast. Decorating rules were definitely made to be broken, but this will give you a really great starting place if you're unsure or you don't know where to start or you feel stuck. I went around my home just to see if I could find any other examples of this mountain peak tactic. Again, it's not always going to apply, especially if you're talking about practical things versus decorative things, but it is a general principle that is very helpful. Some other spots that I considered surfaces are the top of the bench. Now, I don't want to put much here because I want people to actually be able to sit on it, but it's another option for a little stack of books, a plant, a throw, or a pillow. The first thing I do is gather all the things I love and the textures I mentioned, and I set them out and I begin to mess with them, just moving them around into various configurations. I'm going to show you some of the vignettes that I came up with, and I'm going to kind of analyze them and allow you to get inside my head what I'm thinking in this process. This display does not have enough variety in height. It's very flat looking. Now here I've altered it a bit, but still the bird, the picture, and the pot are the exact same height. Changing out the bird for the clock definitely improves the variety of height. Here's another example, much better on the height. I like this simple arrangement. However, having it in the center with that painting makes it feel too heavy in the center, so I would probably push it over to the side and angle it. In this one, the display on the right feels much bigger than the display on the left. I like this much better. It's a bit more balanced. This one is a bit busy, but I do like the balance and the variety in height. Removed the height of that large picture and replaced it with this crock of dried flowers. Now it's just a matter of where I'm putting my mountain peak, a little more towards center or on the edges. I think I really want to include this typewriter on the writing desk. It's been in my family for generations, and I think it's just beautiful. Easy to change the look just by changing out the books, changing out the ceramics. I tried removing the typewriter, adding in a globe. I really like all of these. It's going to be difficult to choose which one makes it to the reveal. I also wanted to point out that when you're using the rule of 3, for example, in this vignette, I use the clock and the books as one item. And again here, the plant stacked on the books functions as 1, the clock as 2, and the bird as 3. Whenever you're decorating surfaces, don't be afraid to tweak things and keep trying different arrangements over and over until you find something you really like. And then keep in mind the 5 things I mentioned to balance out your decor on surfaces. Thank you so much for joining me today on The Peaceful Home. I look forward to seeing you for the reveal.